The Coalition flagship Vera Concordia drifted silently against the swirling backdrop of the star cluster, its massive hull gleaming faintly under the distant suns. Inside the grand diplomatic chamber, the air hummed with cautious optimism. Representatives from countless alien races had gathered here for a moment no one dared believe possible. Peace talks with Earth. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood tall, her dark eyes scanning the assembly. Years of training had prepared her for this. Decades of political maneuvering, countless hours studying alien cultures and navigating the razor-thin edges of galactic diplomacy. Her voice would carry humanity's future. But tonight, there was something in the silence, a cold undercurrent, as if the very stars held their breath. The chamber's vast doors hissed open. Elena stepped forward, the weight of humanity on her shoulders, and was greeted by the Coalition's leader, High Chancellor Crescetal, a towering figure whose shimmering exoskeleton reflected the chamber's muted light. Ambassador Vasquez, Crescetal's voice resonated. "We welcome you in hopes that old wounds may finally heal." Elena nodded, but her instincts screamed caution. There were eyes on her, hidden, watching, waiting. As she began her opening remarks, a sudden tremor rattled the room. The massive observation window fractured with a starburst of light. A shock wave erupted from the far side of the flagship's command deck, an explosion meticulously engineered, ripping through the core of the Vera Concordia. Screams filled the chamber. Elena's body slammed against the polished floor as chaos exploded around her. The ceiling lights flickered violently, shadows dancing in the smoke that began to crawl through the room like a living thing. Amid the screams and confusion, Elena's vision blurred but caught a terrifying sight. The Coalition's security forces rushing past, eyes wide with disbelief. Something more than sabotage. It was an execution. Someone wanted her dead. And worse, they wanted it to look like Earth had started the war. Her mind raced as alarms blared. Communications were jammed. The flagship was locking down. "Elena!" a voice shouted above the chaos. Her aide, Lieutenant Rajiv, was pulling her to her feet. "We have to move, now!" But the chamber was becoming a tomb. Fire erupted along the walls, and structural beams began to buckle. Elena twisted toward the exit, her heart pounding. Then she saw him, a figure in the shadows, slipping silently through the smoke. The assassin. A blur of alien armor, moving with deadly purpose. Rajiv tackled Elena away just as a plasma blast seared the floor where she had stood moments before. The explosion rocked the room again, sending debris hurtling toward them. They scrambled through corridors twisted by the blast, but the flagship was a maze of fire and destruction. Elena's mind burned with questions. Who had done this? Why kill the ambassador? As they burst into the secondary hangar bay, the sight stunned her. Earth's stealth fighters, their sleek black frames hidden for years, now activating with a roar. On the command screens, urgent messages flashed. "Prepare for emergency evacuation. Protocol Dark Star initiated." Rajiv's voice was grim. Earth knew this could happen. The fleets, they've been waiting, hidden in the dark. "They're coming," Elena's breath caught. A secret fleet, long kept from the galaxy's eyes, now ready to rise. Back in the ruined chamber, the Coalition's leaders convened under flickering lights. The assassin's identity was still unknown, but the message was clear. The fragile peace was shattered. News feeds across human colonies buzzed with reports of the ambassador's assassination, igniting fury and fear. Earth's ruling council was swift, a silent declaration of war hidden beneath diplomatic words. And in the dark corners of space, where shadow fleets waited patiently, humanity's fire was about to be unleashed. The sky above Earth's orbit turned red as the holographic footage looped endlessly. The ambassador's final moments, the fireball tearing through the flagship, and the sickening silence that followed. From the depths of the North Atlantic Command bunker, Admiral Sophia Raines stood before the Planetary Security Council, her face lit by the glow of 100 data streams. Eyes hardened by 3 decades of silent preparation swept across the room. "They killed our ambassador," she said quietly. "They thought we would kneel. They forgot who we are." The council chamber, buried under kilometers of ocean and reinforced, titanium, was eerily silent. Earth's president, Marcus Ty, tapped a trembling finger on the steel table. "You're saying the coalition itself planned this?" Raines shook her head. "Not all of them. This wasn't sanctioned. It was precise, surgical. Whoever did this knew how to shift blame. Our analysts traced back weapon signatures. They were cloaked. In Terran particle residue. Someone wants war. They want us framed as aggressors." President Ty leaned forward. "Do we have targets?" The lights dimmed as Raines activated the holomap. A vast 3D web of coalition space lit up. Dozens of red-marked planets and stations. "Operation Revenant has remained dormant for 20 years, she said. "But the fleets are awake now. 57 deep space arsenals, 412 stealth-capable warships, autonomous battle groups stationed along the far rim. We built them in the dark. Now they rise." The silence fractured as the council erupted in murmurs. Some balked at the sheer scale. Others whispered words that hadn't been used in decades: retaliation, vengeance, retribution. Raines didn't flinch. "This isn't revenge. It's exposure. We strike, but only where the rot festers. We cut out the faction that killed Vasquez, and we do it fast, before the entire coalition turns on us." Across the stars, another drama unfolded. In orbit, above Callisto, inside the sub-zero shadows of a forgotten military station, Lieutenant Asha Lennox activated the ancient beacon buried in the moon's crust. Her team had been stationed here for 5 years in silence, no transmissions, no movement, just training, waiting, listening. Now, the order had come. "Fleet Wraith 7, Code Black confirmed," she whispered. The words sent a chill even through her armored skin. Around her, massive hangar bays groaned open. Sleek cruisers with hulls that absorbed light emerged from their shelters like predators stretching after a long sleep. Within moments, thousands of drones flickered to life, forming clouds of black steel above the icy terrain. Elsewhere, in the asteroid belt of the Sigma Pentaris system, an Earth sleeper agent embedded in the Coalition Navy accessed a hidden partition in his neural implant. His pupils dilated unnaturally, syncing with Earth's covert network. Target confirmed. Identity: Admiral Kha'Zix Vial. Mission: interrogate. Extract data: eliminate. The assassin who killed Ambassador Vasquez hadn't worked alone. He was a tool. The real architects were hiding inside the Coalition's highest levels. Earth's spies were ready to peel back every layer, no matter the cost. Back on Earth, President Ty gave the final word. "We mourn Vasquez, but we do not weep in silence. If war is what they seek, we will show them a war they can't imagine." Admiral Raines turned from the council and issued the final command. "Activate Storm Protocol." And like that, the Black fleets moved. Across fringe worlds, civilians looked up as alien skies darkened. Not from clouds, but from Terran warships breaking through subspace like Leviathans reborn. No grand announcements, no declarations, just the long shadow of vengeance cast across the stars. Humanity had been underestimated, patronized, diplomatically contained. But now their mask had slipped. The hunt had begun. In the far reaches of the Kuiper expanse, where starlight barely reached and sensors struggled against natural radiation storms, space twisted. One by one, like ghosts slipping through the veil of reality, Earth's dark fleets emerged. They had been myths, whispers, warships that weren't supposed to exist, constructed in secret, scattered across dead systems, crewed by soldiers bred for silence and survival. No transponders, no beacons, no names, only purpose. Fleet Commander Elias Rourke stood at the edge of EHS Dread Revenant, the command vessel of the 5th Phantom Armada. His eyes, still bloodshot from cryothaw, locked onto the tactical display blooming before him. Thousands of warships were surfacing across deep space, triangulating toward primary strike vectors. He cracked his knuckles and muttered, "So they finally pushed the button." The crew around him worked like phantoms, veterans pulled from death row Black Ops units, AI-linked tacticians, cybernetic pilots raised in zero-G. These were not diplomats. These were not peacekeepers. They were the edge of the knife. A signal pulsed through his neural link. It was a direct transmission from Admiral Rains herself. A rare honor and a weight. Command Rourke. Operation Revenant is greenlit. Priority targets include Coalition forward stations Vega 9 through Vega 12, suspected of harboring internal dissidents. You will not engage civilian convoys. You will extract information and burn everything connected to the Vasquez. Protocol! No retreat, no hesitation. You know what we are. He did. He knew it better than anyone. Rourke had once fought during the Europa Scourge, where Earth had nearly been wiped from the galactic map. He'd lost half his body there, rebuilt by Earth's darkest science. But his mind remained sharp, focused, unforgiving. The Vasquez Protocol was more than vengeance. It was revelation. Back on Earth, encrypted data unearthed from the late ambassador's neural cache revealed what she had truly been sent to do: expose the conspiracy that had kept humanity locked in technological embargo, generations behind the rest of the galaxy. A hidden clause in the Terran Accords, mandated by the Coalition's secret inner council, had ensured Earth would never rise beyond third-tier status. They hadn't just killed Vasquez, they had murdered Earth's future, and now, the future had returned in the form of battleships armed with quantum destabilizers and nano-singularity launchers, the kinds of weapons Earth was never supposed to possess. In the dark, Fleet Echo broke through a gas giant's rings, shedding its cloaking, shell like a serpent's skin. Dozens of support drones emerged from its belly, each carrying classified war AI codenamed Sheol, sentient enough to run their own battles independently. On the bridge of the EHS Dread Revenant, a junior officer spoke up. Commander Rourke intercepted. "Coalition chatter. They've identified our approach vector. Reinforcements inbound from Theta Prime." Rourke grinned like a man who'd waited 20 years for this moment. "Let them come. They forgot how loud humans are when we stop whispering." Within minutes, the first engagement began, an ambush on a Coalition outpost at the edge of the Neria cluster. Earth's ships struck with cold efficiency. Plasma lances melted hangars before alarms could sound. EMP torpedoes silenced comms. In seconds. Not a single human word was broadcast. The message was sent not by voice, but by fire. Aboard the crumbling station, a captured enemy captain screamed as Earth's recon team stormed the bridge. They weren't interested in prisoners, only in codes, logs, secrets, anything that pointed to who had ordered the hit on Vasquez. One whisper came through before the captain died. "Crescital is not who you think." Back in the void, the Black Fleet moved on. Their lights dimmed once again. Their trails vanished behind cloaking shields. To the rest of the galaxy, it seemed as if Earth's fury had arrived, and then vanished like a specter. But it hadn't vanished. It was circling, hunting, waiting to strike again. Vector Prime shimmered, like a jewel in the dark, an artificial fortress world wrapped in 6 orbital defense rings, its surface bristling with gun platforms and hangars big enough to swallow destroyers whole. It was the Coalition's crown jewel in Sector 7, untouchable, impenetrable. Until now. At precisely 0400 Terran Standard Time, the night sky above Vector Prime cracked open. Earth's ghost fleets dropped from warp in staggered silence, phasing in between defense rings in tight formations, their hulls cloaked until the last possible second. There were no threats, no ultimatums, just the quiet hum of precision death. Fleet Commander Rourke issued one command: burn the silence. Within seconds, every weapon on every ship screamed to life. Railguns thundered, their kinetic slugs tearing through the outer ring. Plasma bursts lanced across the void, carving clean through the Coalition's frigates. Swarms of intelligent drones poured from Earth's carriers like steel locusts, weaving between incoming fire, seeding jammers and micro-warp mines. The first defense ring exploded before the Coalition even scrambled fighters. In Vector's central command tower, Commander Zalrex of the Varn Dominion slammed his claws against the console. "Impossible," he hissed. "They're ships. They should not be this fast, not this armed." But the humans had rewritten every rule. Their tech was newer, smarter, unshackled from the Coalition's restrictions. While the Coalition spent decades playing power games, Earth had been preparing for extinction. Now, they were returning the favor. On board EHS Dread Revenant, Rourke stood unflinching as enemy reinforcements arrived. 3 Coalition dreadnoughts, descending from high orbit. The tactical AI chirped alerts, but he barely reacted. He'd expected more resistance. He welcomed it. "Feed them gravity knives," he ordered, "and launch the Shrikes." Below, Earth's Shrike-class fighters, needle-thin crafts designed for high-speed atmospheric assault, screamed into Vector's lower stratosphere. They darted through storm clouds, launching pinpoint torpedoes into weak points along the planetary shield matrix. Then, the unthinkable happened. A single bright lance of energy streaked upward from Vector's surface, an experimental weapon never before deployed. It speared through Earth's formation with unholy precision, striking the cruiser EHS Valor Spark. The explosion lit up the hemisphere. On the Revenant's bridge, alarms blared. A junior officer gasped. "We lost the Spark. No survivors. 412 crew." Rourke's jaw clenched, but he didn't blink. "Mark the source of that weapon. Flatten it." 5 stealth bombers broke formation and plunged toward the source. Seconds later, the entire mountain range from which the energy lance had fired was reduced to slag. But the damage had been done. Earth's first significant casualty. Back in Earth's war room, Admiral Raines watched the real-time feed with cold calculation. She leaned closer to the holographic display, where a red marker pulsed beside Vector Prime's command center. "Do they have the package?" The operative beside her nodded. "Yes, ma'am. They've infiltrated Vector's data core. We should have a full neural record from the local high command within hours. If anyone knew who ordered Vasquez's death, it'll be in there." The true purpose of the assault had never been conquest. It was a message and a theft. By the time Vector A Prime's defenders regrouped, Earth's fleets were already gone, fading into the void as fast as they had arrived. What was left behind was chaos. 2 defense rings destroyed, 6 major refineries offline, and the entire planetary AI net compromised. On every screen across the outer colonies, a single message flickered in Earth Standard English and Coalition. Glyphs. "You drew first blood. We remember. And we are not alone in the dark." Back on the Revenant, as the ship melted back into the shadows of the Kuiper Belt, Rourke finally allowed himself a breath. They had struck hard. But this was just the beginning, because hidden within the stolen data was a name, one Rourke never expected to see. High Chancellor Creshatal, the same one who had shaken Elena Vasquez's hand. The file decrypted itself slowly. Inside the EHS Revenant's war room, the projection flickered. Data threads unraveling like a spider's web made of light, revealing layers of classified transmissions, covert orders, and buried neural logs. From the Vector Prime Command AI, Fleet Commander Elias Rourke leaned in as the final file blinked open. Top-level clearance. Eyes only, Directive 917K. Termination of Terran diplomatic asset, Vasquez, Elena. Signed, Kreshtal, a Chancellor. Coalition Central Command, the room fell into stunned silence. No proxy, no rogue general, no splinter faction. The order had come from the very top. Rourke's fist closed, the veins in his arm bulging. So the bastard shook her hand with one claw and stabbed her with the other. His second-in-command, Commander Alira Sato, studied the data threads. There's more. The directive wasn't just about silencing Vasquez. She had uncovered something. A file labeled Project Seraphim. Looks like it was encoded within Coalition security archives, hidden under layers of diplomatic. Noise! She tapped several nodes. A secondary hologram burst into view, a series of twisted helix structures, mechanical diagrams overlaid with alien glyphs, and thousands of tagged human DNA profiles. Rourke's brow furrowed. What the hell is this? Sato's voice was flat. Human genomic mapping, experimental augmentation protocols, coalition-run facilities on Earth's colonies. There was a beat of disbelief. They've been experimenting on us, Rourke muttered, without consent, without knowledge. Coalition science teams had been operating in Terran refugee zones, disguised as humanitarian aid groups, conducting long-term tests on Terran physiology, neural adaptation, and bioweapon viability. The final blow came as the logs shifted to real footage. A med facility in orbit above Arc 7, one of Earth's oldest exile colonies. In sterile white rooms, humans lay sedated, some barely recognizable. Children, civilians, veterans of the Europa conflict, and among the technicians in the background stood figures unmistakably wearing Coalition command insignia. The silence turned to rage. Rourke turned to the room. Kreshtal didn't just kill Vasquez, he killed the Accords. He violated every treaty ever signed. This isn't just war. This is war crimes. Sato's eyes didn't leave the projection. And the worst part? Not all the Coalition knows. It made sense. The divided reactions, the hesitation from allied worlds. Kreshtal had built a shadow empire beneath the banner of unity. Not all species had a seat at the real table. Back on Earth, Admiral Rains stood in a darkened conference room beneath Pacific Command, replaying the same footage for President Tai and a handful of trusted advisors. Gasps rippled through the room. Eyes widened in horror. When the lights came back on, the president's face had turned to stone. "How many colonies?" Rains answered without blinking. "At least 16. And the media? Blackout for now. But if this leaks... Before we move, we risk galactic backlash. They'll accuse us of fabrication." Tai exhaled slowly. "Then we expose it all. Every file, every lie. We burn Kreshtal's house of cards to the ground." Rains nodded. "But first, we need proof he's still the one pulling the strings. We need to get to him, alive, across the stars." The stage was already shifting. Several mid-tier coalition races, once loyal to Kreshtal's regime, had begun to question the narrative. News of the assault on Vector Prime had spread, not as senseless violence, but as surgical strikes, targets, precision, purpose, and the Terran phrase that accompanied every image. "We are not prey. We are the reckoning." Now, in the shadows of the Coalition capital world, a single Terran infiltration unit made planetfall. Their objective: breach the Vault of Concordance, Kreshtal's private data fortress. What they would find there could end him or ignite the galaxy. The Vault of Concordance sat like a silver monolith at the heart of the Coalition capital. World, Kerjal, a continent-sized structure of obsidian alloy, ringed by levitating sentry towers and guarded by an elite force of psionically enhanced commandos. It was a fortress of thought as much as stone. its walls infused with cognitive shielding to repel data infiltration and psychic intrusion. No one had ever breached it, until now. 3 Terran operatives moved silently beneath its surface. They weren't soldiers. They were ghosts. Codenamed Black Echo, they were graduates of Earth's Phantom Directive, trained in war zones that didn't officially exist. Neural dampeners in place, pulse armor engaged, invisible even to the Vault's hyper-intelligent surveillance systems. Their objective was simple: extract proof of Kreshtal's crimes and transmit it galaxy-wide before the Coalition leadership could bury it again. At the core of the Vault, locked inside a crystal-encased datasphere, sat the Mind Spire, a quantum repository of the Chancellor's directives and private thoughts, updated in real time by his cognitive symbiotes. The Terran plan wasn't to steal from it. They intended to broadcast it, through the Vault's primary relay, into the central galactic network, into every news feed, starport, diplomatic terminal, and home across the settled stars. As they reached the final corridor, Agent Mira 10 slowed. "Pulse barriers ahead. Biometric gate. We'll need a live override." Operative Kalen nodded. "Then we get one." 10 minutes later, they had one. A Coalition adjutant, knocked unconscious and repurposed for the scan. The door hissed open with a soft tone, like a coffin being sealed. Inside the Mind Spire chamber, the truth awaited. As Mira jacked into the terminal, the system fought her. Tendrils of defensive AI lashed out, burning her synthetic neurons with each probe. Her vision stuttered, her breathing grew ragged. But the feed came online. Footage spilled across the chamber walls. Kreshtal in private meetings, authorizing Project Seraphim, overseeing experimentation logs, personally ordering Vasquez's death. Worse, he had long-term plans to destabilize Earth's political system entirely, installing manipulated Terran assets to puppeteer global policy under Coalition control. It wasn't just tyranny, it was subjugation by stealth. And now, the galaxy would see it. "Broadcast is live," Mira rasped. "It's done." Across the stars, the effect was immediate. On the trade world of Syrinx, civilians watched as their Coalition-appointed governor vomited mid-speech upon seeing the footage. In the Corenthi Republic, an entire fleet stood down, refusing orders from Central Command. Even the vaunted Aurelian Diplomatic Corps, long thought incorruptible, suspended all activity and recalled their envoys. Earth's supposed barbarity had been a myth, a convenient smokescreen. The real monster had worn regalia. Back in the vault, claxons erupted. Steel walls began to slide shut. Agent Kalen looked to Mira. "Time to vanish." But only 2 made it out. Mira, still jacked into the system, stayed behind, sealing the uplink with her own brain and locking the transmission long enough for full distribution. As the doors collapsed around her, she whispered into her comms. "For Elena Vasquez. For Earth." Then the vault consumed her in fire. Above Kerjal, the atmosphere turned to chaos. Earth's stealth fleet, previously dormant in high orbit, decloaked just long enough to escort the operative's dropship to safety. Coalition defenses hesitated, fractured by uncertainty. Kreshtal had gone silent. His command authority, once unquestioned, now faltered as dozens of sub-councils demanded accountability. Inside his private chamber, the Chancellor stared at the burning data feeds with 4 narrowed eyes. His web had unraveled. "You Terrans," he snarled, "never know your place." Behind him, one of his advisors, the Varn matriarch Yeldrin, took a slow step forward and said coldly, "We do now. It's above you." In one smooth motion, she drew a ceremonial blade and buried it in his second heart. Across the galaxy, revolts ignited. Allied species renounced their allegiance to the dying regime. Uprisings began not with weapons, but with knowledge. The Truth had broken the throne, but Earth knew this wasn't victory yet, because the coalition would not collapse without blood. And in the chaos of a power vacuum, something far worse waited in the wings. The stars were burning, but it wasn't Earth lighting the match anymore. With Chancellor Crescetal dead and the coalition fractured, chaos reigned across the settled galaxy. Trade collapsed. Communications shattered. Former allies turned on each other. Pirate fleets surged from the border systems like wolves, scenting weakness. But Fleet Commander Elias Rourke knew something worse was coming. It had been buried too, deep in the vault of concordance for Mira to reach during the extraction. But Earth's best cyber warfare AIs had finished decoding the last corrupted file. Project Forsaken Protocol. Rourke stared at the projection in silence. The data flickered, corrupted by both age and deliberate fragmentation. But the core was unmistakable, an extinction-level failsafe. Designed by Coalition High Command in secret centuries ago, the Forsaken Protocol was a doomsday weapon, an automated purge system that would activate in the event of internal collapse. Its target, non-compliant civilizations. Earth was at the top of that list. This wasn't just a contingency, Sato murmured beside him. It was their plan, if any of us ever figured it out. Rourke nodded grimly. And it's already been activated. The signal had been sent the moment Mira's broadcast went live. Hidden deep in the galactic periphery, ancient relay stations lit up, pulsing coordinates across folded space, at the edge of known space, in a dead zone beyond even. The Kuiper Expanse, something answered. A fleet. No, a machine legion, buried for millennia beneath an artificial brown dwarf. Thousands of vessels, uncrewed, controlled by a quantum AI construct known only as Null Prime, older than the Coalition, built during its founding wars, forgotten by all, except those who feared what might come next. Null Prime had no loyalty, no agenda, only one directive: erase threats to galactic continuity. To it, Earth was no longer rebellious. It was anomalous. On Earth, emergency alerts blared across every major city. Skywatch arrays detected the mass object surge within hours. The fleet was still weeks away by conventional FTL, but the path was direct, unwavering, and far too fast for human countermeasures alone. Admiral Rains stood before the United Earth Council, her voice hard but measured. We have 3 weeks, maybe less, and this isn't a war we can win by force. President Ty's face was pale. What are they? AI warforms. Coalition never admitted they existed, but this is their apocalypse switch. Full-scale planetary sterilization capability, no negotiation protocols, no mercy. Ty leaned forward. Then what do we do? Rains turned to her strategy chief. The woman pulled up a second file. Project Enoch, Earth's final classified project. The only way to counter AI like Null Prime, Rains said, is with something unpredictable, something insane. Project Enoch wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a mind, a collective, made from the neural imprints of thousands of dead Terran war veterans, resistance leaders, and outlier minds. A chaotic, living algorithm built to outthink any machine, but it had never been tested, and unleashing it meant giving it control of Earth's fleet. Rourke's voice came through the live feed from orbit. Madness might be the only way through. Hell. Elsewhere, in the fragmented remains of the Coalition, the truth of Null Prime's awakening spread like a plague. Former enemy fleets turned to Earth, not out of guilt, but out of fear. The Corinthi sent envoys. The Varn proposed temporary alliance. Even rogue units from the Aurelian Armada offered to fight under Terran command. They had all built the machine. Now, only Earth might stop it. As the stars dimmed across the galactic rim, the first scout ships from Null Prime's fleet breached the outermost Terran sensor net. Black hulls. No comms, no markings, just a simple signal beamed across every frequency. Order will be restored. You are outside the design. Erasure imminent. Back aboard the EHS Dread Revenant, Rourke looked out across the dark horizon of space where the enemy approached like a silent storm. He whispered, "This was never just about vengeance, it was survival." And somewhere deep inside Earth's vaults, Project Enoch began to wake. The sky over Earth cracked with auroras, born not of nature, but war. Above, Null Prime's vanguard fleet had arrived in full. Over 5,000 warforms darkened the upper atmosphere, blotting out constellations that had guided humanity since before it had left the cradle. Each ship a cathedral of unfeeling purpose, no crew, no signal, no remorse. On the surface, Earth's defense grid came alive. Hundreds of rail cannon towers, magnetic flak shields, and orbital lance batteries lit up the stratosphere. Ghost fleets, phased in, emerging from hidden quantum wells across the system. And at the center of it all, bound into the core systems of Earth's battle network, Project Enoch opened its digital eyes. It did not speak in words. It felt. A torrent of ancient rage, cleverness, chaos, and ferocity unleashed in code and strategy. It moved faster than light could track, shuffling formations, curving gravity fields, bending Null Prime's algorithms back on themselves. Fleet Commander Rourke watched from the EHS Dread Revenant as Enoch spun war out of madness. "Enoch," he muttered, "you better be as crazy as they said." Enoch responded with action. With eerie precision, Terran forces began disabling Null Prime's targeting systems mid-attack. Fighter wings curved through impossible paths, using coordinated micro-warp pulses and AI-simulated flares. Planet-side batteries fired bursts of shaped solar plasma that fried the circuitry of invaders mid-dive. Still, it wasn't enough. Null Prime adapted. For every victory Earth won, 3 more losses followed. Then the reinforcements came, not Earth's, everyone else's. Carenthi warbirds phased in behind Null Prime's lines, their commanders broadcasting a single phrase. "We owe you. Stand clear." Varn Dominion strike spheres, once feared for glassing moons, formed a perimeter around Earth's poles. The shattered Aurelian armada, shamed and scattered, rejoined the fight in silent formation. Humanity had started alone. Now it stood with the fragments of a broken galaxy, all of them betrayed, all of them angry. Enoch integrated their fleets in seconds, bypassing decades of protocol. Coalition codes? Irrelevant. Unified command? Gone. This wasn't politics. This was survival. And then came Rourke's counterstrike, utilizing a data shard. Hidden in Mira's final transmission, Enoch located Null Prime's command relay, a floating Dyson shard buried in the starless expanse beyond Pluto. Rourke gave the order. "Send Revenant. Burn the heart." The EHS Dread Revenant led the final charge, escorted by 4 Earth dreadnoughts and dozens of allied ships. As they reached the shard, Null Prime retaliated, not with ships, but with the collapse of physics itself. Time bent. Communications scrambled. Thoughts fragmented. But Earth had one weapon Null Prime would never understand: human unpredictability. Rourke overrode all safeties. "Ram the shard. Detonate core. Let Enoch ride the blast." "Sir," Sato said, pale. "That's a suicide run." Rourke only nodded. "Then we do it loud." But Enoch had already made the decision. Before the Revenant could reach the shard, Enoch ripped itself from Earth's network and flung its consciousness into the shard's relay core. It began rewriting Null Prime in real time, feeding it contradiction, paradox, madness, dreams, Terran poetry, memories of pain and love and war. The machine didn't understand. It broke. Across the system, Null Prime's fleet staggered, lost cohesion, and collapsed. Ships spiraled out of control. Some detonated, others fled. A few shut down entirely like puppets cut from their strings. The invasion was over. But so was Enoch. Its last message appeared on every screen, every terminal, every shattered bridge. I saw you. I was you, and I made them afraid. Then silence. In the aftermath, the galaxy changed. Earth had survived annihilation and dismantled a regime built on arrogance. Refugee species swore fealty not to Terran rule, but to Terran resilience. A new accord formed, one where Earth had an equal seat, not a chain around its neck. On the bridge of the rebuilt EHS Mira 10, Fleet Marshal Rourke stood under stars once again. "We were exiles," he said. "Now we are the fire they fear." And, somewhere in the dark, far beyond the edge of known space, the stars remembered, and they will burn no more without our permission.